All right, ready to dive into something pretty interesting.
Always.
Today, we're looking at KRBL Ltd, a company you might not have heard of.
But their product you definitely have.
Yeah, they're all about basmati rice, actually the world's leading brand.
In their latest quarterly report, well, let's just say it's a bit of a mixed bag.
We've got their Q2 FY25 report and a whole investor presentation, so we're going deep.
Peeling back the layers to see what's really driving their performance.
Okay, so first things first. For those of us who haven't been following along, just how big is KRBL?
They're huge. We're not just talking about a local rice farm here. Think global.
Global, okay. Like how global?
They've got the highest market share in India, obviously.
Right, their home turf.
But their reach goes way beyond that, over 90 countries.
Wow, okay, so if I had some basmati rice last week.
Odds are pretty good it came from KRBL. They've got this massive processing capacity, the largest rice milling plant in Punjab.
So they're a powerhouse, that's clear.
Yeah.
Now, their Q2 financials, you said mixed bag.
Yeah, so revenue actually increased both domestically and in their export markets.
That's got to be good news.
It is. They're selling more rice, Andy, getting better prices for it.
Volume and realization, both up. That's the dream.
You'd think so, but their profitability tells a different story. Gross profit is down, and those key margins, EBITDA and PAT, also down.
Wait, they're selling more but making less.
Seems that way. They're being squeezed by rising input costs for their basmati.
How much are we talking?
Up 7% year on year. But they were only able to raise their own prices, their realization, by 3%.
So it's like trying to outrun inflation. That cost of doing business keeps climbing.
Exactly, and that's before we even factor in this one-off provision reversal they had last year in Q2 FY24. Makes it tricky to compare apples to apples.
Right, so we need to keep that in mind when looking at these numbers. All right, debt. How's their debt situation looking? That's always a good indicator of a company's health.
Good news there, actually. Their debt dependence has gone down and, thanks to strong cash flow,
Music to investors' ears.
net bank debt is sitting at 1,132 crore rupees.
And their net worth.
Healthy, 4,955 crore rupees. So they're in a good spot financially.
Okay, so strong Q2, at least on the surface. But how does that fit into the bigger picture of their first half performance for FY25?
Well, the whole 6-month period is actually showing a revenue decrease year on year.
Oh, that's a twist. What happened?
Seems like last year, first half, they had a bunch of bulk sales that really boosted export revenue.
So tough comparison this time around.
Yeah, that's part of it. But there's good news too. Domestic business is up 7%. And get this, branded export revenue actually increased.
Hold on. So they're selling less overall abroad,
Yeah.
but the stuff that IS growing, is there a higher value branded product?
You got it. Seems like a deliberate strategy to focus on quality over quantities.
Makes sense. Build that brand loyalty, even if it means slightly lower volume overall.
Now, the profitability for the whole first half, similar trend to Q2. Gross profit down, and EBITDA and PAT margins, those are down too.
So it's that input cost issue again, right?
Yep, up 8% this time. And their ability to raise prices to compensate, only 2%. So that gap's widening.
Ouch. And their working capital.
Well, end of the quarter, they had higher inventory, and it's twofold. Increased carrying costs.
Cost of storing all that rice, right?
Yep. And just more rice in general. Inventory volume hit 439,000 metric tons.
That's a mountain of rice.
And with a value of 2,110 crore rupees.
All right, so some challenges there for sure. But I'm curious, how's KRBL actually tackling these issues? What's their strategy for staying on top?
They're not just sitting back and hoping for the best. They've got two clear focuses: domestic business within India and then their export game. And domestically, they're really doing some impressive things.
Okay, let's hear it. How are they dominating in a market like India, so competitive?
Well, they're not just reacting, they're dictating the market. General trade in India, they've got a 38% market share.
Wow, that's huge.
And it's growing, up 435 basis points, which means
They're taking even more market share. All right, spill beans. What's their secret?
they're going after those non-metro markets, those smaller towns beyond the big cities.
Smart, tapping into that huge potential customer base.
And they're not just sending their products out there hoping for the best. They're completely overhauling their supply chain to support this, setting up direct distribution in those towns.
Going hyper-local, cutting out the middleman. I like it.
Plus, they're investing heavily in marketing and brand building. Campaigns like Grains of Hope or Classic Bandan.
So they're connecting with those consumers on an emotional level. Smart move. But what about product innovation? Are they just sticking to basmati or branching out?
That's the big question, isn't it? They have hinted at looking at other categories, ones with good growth potential and better margins.
Intriguing. So they're not resting on their laurels. They're looking to the future. All right, let's switch gears and talk about their export business. What stood out to you there?
Well, despite the overall dip in export revenue, their branded exports are actually growing.
So again, that focus on higher value products.
Yep, and they're in a great position to do that. They actually achieve a 29% premium on their basmati export realization compared to the average for India.
So people worldwide are literally paying more for KRBL's rice. Brand recognition at work. What's their game plan to conquer the global market?
Two main things. First, they're really digging deep into their existing markets.
Like doubling down on what's working.
Exactly. Expanding channels, doing more direct marketing, even tailoring campaigns to specific consumer groups.
It's all about understanding the nuances of each market. Now, new markets. Are they venturing into uncharted territory?
Strategically, yes. Leveraging that brand strength and quality to gain a foothold in new places.
Sounds like a recipe for global domination. But let's zoom out for a minute. The basmati market as a whole. Is it a good environment for growth?
Overall, yes. India is the top rice exporter with 85% of the basmati market. And those exports are still on the rise. 15% volume growth last year alone.
So they're riding a wave of increasing demand.
Yeah, exactly. And we're seeing more and more demand for basmati in markets like the U.S. and the Middle East. Huge opportunity for KRBL.
Let's break those markets down. What's happening in the U.S.?
Big demand for PUSA basmati, a high-quality type. And KRBL actually helped commercialize that.
So they're not just riding the wave, they're creating it.
Plus, you've got the Indian diaspora in the U.S. driving consumption. Rice is a staple, but it's also becoming a premium ingredient in restaurants.
Perfect storm for KRBL. What about the Middle East?
Massive market for them. Almost 3/4 of India's basmati exports go there.
Wow. Why so popular there?
India's got these strict quality standards, and that's driving demand among local consumers in the Middle East. They want that made-in-India basmati.
And KRBL is in the perfect position to deliver. So they're doing well in these markets, but HOW, what's their strategy?
They're going multi-pronged, starting with those existing markets. Channel deepening, diversification, offering smaller packs, economy variants.
Making sure there's a KRBL product for every budget, every need.
Right. Plus direct marketing, like Arabic TV commercials in the Middle East, targeted social media. They're really covering all the bases.
Smart marketing. What about that Hareka segment? Hotels and restaurants.
They're definitely pushing there, want to showcase India Gate Basmati to chefs, food service pros.
Makes sense. Get people trying it in restaurants, then they'll buy it at the store. What about new markets, those seeded markets?
Calculated approach there, introducing specific products strategically, doing targeted marketing to build that awareness and get people trying KRBL.
So what kind of product would they use to break into a new market?
Something like adjacent basmati. It leverages the familiarity of basmati, but maybe with a twist. Different flavor profile, different cooking style, something to appeal to that specific region.
Clever. Okay, so we've talked about debt, which is good, but what about their overall financial health, those credit ratings?
Stellar. They consistently get strong ratings from the top agencies, ICRA, CARE. They all have confidence in KRBL.
So they're financially disciplined, well-managed. That's reassuring.
It really speaks to their long-term prospects. Now, I've got to ask,
All right.
all this talk about new product categories beyond basmati, what could those be? They keep hinting at it. How could they leverage what they're already good at to succeed in totally new areas?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll be diving into in part 2 of this deep dive.
It really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? What's next for KRBL beyond basmati?
It's like they dropped this hint, and now I'm dying to know more.
Well, we know they've got this incredible brand, a distribution network that's amazing, reaches even small villages, and expertise. They know agriculture.
So it makes sense to stick with food, beverages, right? I mean, that's their wheelhouse.
Definitely a natural fit. They could easily go into other types of rice, grains, pulses, become like a one-stop shop for all your basic grains.
Right. Tap into the trend of ancient grains, quinoa, Africa, or even organic, sustainably sourced rice.
And don't forget that brand power. Seeing Indigate on a package of quinoa, lentil soup. Consumers trust that already.
It's a shortcut to credibility.
Okay, but let's think outside the box for a minute. Beyond just grains, what else could they do?
Well, they could use that sourcing expertise, processing know-how, and go into things like spices, edible oils.
Spices, yeah. India's known for its spices.
Exactly. Partner with local farmers, cooperatives, source high-quality stuff, and then market it under India Gate.
Spice blends, ready-to-use pastes. I can see it now.
Or even think about the plant-based food trend. They're already experts in rice, grains.
Rice-based protein powder. Lentil-based meat alternatives.
That's what I'm talking about. Huge market, and they've already got the infrastructure.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, I'm ready for a real curveball now. What if they went beyond food entirely?
Whoa, okay, you're thinking big, but I like it.
I mean, they've got the agricultural knowledge, the supply chain.
What about bioplastics, biofuels?
Interesting. They're already working with the raw materials.
Exactly. It'd be a way to diversify, tap into new markets, and it's sustainable. Good for the planet. Okay, those are some great ideas, but gotta ask, what are the challenges? It can't all be easy, right?
Of course not. These new markets, they've got their own players, their own rules. KRBL can't just waltz in and expect to dominate.
So that success in rice, it doesn't automatically transfer over.
Nope. They need to do their research, figure out the target audience, the right products, the right message.
It's a whole new learning curve.
And financially,
Yeah.
these ventures, they'll likely need to invest a lot. New facilities, research, marketing, maybe even acquisitions.
He's a risk.
Calculated risk, though. They seem to have the money to do it, and they've made smart decisions before.
From one rice mill to a global empire, that's not luck.
Exactly. But it's not just about money, right? They need the right people, expertise in these new areas.
Talent acquisition is key.
Might need to go outside the rice industry, find people who know product development, marketing, distribution for these specific categories.
The finding the right team will be crucial.
I think KRBL's reputation will help them attract good people, though. They're seen as a leader.
And their commitment to sustainability, social responsibility, that's got to appeal to some folks too.
Definitely. It's not just about profits for them. It's about doing things the right way. It's part of their identity.
Okay, but back to reality for a second. What about those rising input costs? That's a real challenge they're facing, NLW.
Yeah, that's not going away anytime soon. It's like a constant uphill battle.
So are they stuck? Just got to deal with it.
Not necessarily. They can get strategic with sourcing, procurement, become really good at finding the best prices.
Use their size to negotiate better deals.
Exactly. Explore different sources, maybe regions where prices are more stable. Could even look at vertical integration.
For our listeners who aren't supply chain experts, what does that mean?
Basically, taking control of more of the process. Maybe acquiring farms, processing facilities.
Becoming their own supplier, in a way.
Yeah, right. But that comes with its own risks, too. More investment, more complexity to manage. It's a trade-off.
Lots to consider. What about just raising their prices? Pass those costs along to the consumer.
They do have some power to do that, but they can't go crazy.
Can't price themselves out of the market.
Exactly. Consumers have choices, and if KRBL gets too expensive, they'll switch brands.
So what else can they do?
Focus on efficiency, streamlining processes, optimizing manufacturing, reducing waste, basically getting leaner.
Trimming the fat.
Right. And they can be smart about their product mix. Focus on the higher margin stuff, maybe phase out the less profitable item.
Make sure every product is earning its keep.
Exactly. And being adaptable is key. Market changes, prices fluctuate. They got to be able to adjust quickly.
Stay agile, roll with the punches.
Now, we can't forget about regulations, right? Agriculture is full of rules and red tape.
A minefield to navigate. What kind of challenges could they face there?
Oh, all sorts of things. Import quotas, export quotas, tariffs, even labeling requirements. All that can change and affect their costs, their access to markets.
So they need to stay informed, be ready to adapt.
Absolutely. And then, of course, there's the stuff you just can't predict. Natural disasters, political turmoil, pandemics.
The wild cards.
Yeah, those can throw everything off. Supply chains get disrupted, prices go haywire, consumer behavior changes overnight. Got to have a good risk management plan in place.
Be prepared for anything. Okay, let's talk competition. Who are they up against, both in India and globally?
In India, it's other basmati brands and then smaller regional players. It's a crowded market.
So they're fighting for every customer. What sets KRBL apart from the rest? What's their edge?
Brand recognition is huge. India Gate means quality. It's almost a status symbol, and that lets them charge more.
It's like the premium brand of basmati.
Right. Plus, their distribution network is amazing. You can find their products everywhere, even in small villages.
That's got to be a major advantage.
And they're serious about quality control, food safety. Consumers trust that.
It's peace of mind, knowing that the food you're buying is safe.
Globally, they're competing with basmati exporters from other countries, Pakistan, Thailand.
With a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, they've got to deal with different cultures, different regulations, different competitors.
More complex.
They need to adapt to each market, their products, marketing, everything.
All right, so big picture.
Yeah.
How would you assess KRBL's position in the market? What are their strengths, weaknesses? What's their outlook?
Okay, strengths. Definitely the brand, the distribution network, their focus on quality. They've built a strong base.
They're starting from a good place.
Financially, they're solid too. Consistent profits, healthy balance sheet. They can invest and they can handle tough times.
They're not going anywhere.
Now, areas to improve, I think they could do more to promote their sustainability efforts. Consumers care about that stuff.
Yeah, it's like a selling point they're not fully utilizing.
Right. And they could try some more innovative marketing, especially to reach younger consumers.
We got to stay relevant to the next generation.
And be more proactive about changing trends. Healthier foods, convenience foods, that kind of thing. They got to be ahead of the curve, not behind it.
Anticipate the future.
Hmm.
Okay, I've got a thought-provoking question for you. What if KRBL looked at brands like Nike, Apple, Starbucks?
Okay, I'm listening.
Those brands, they create these amazing experiences, right?
Yeah.
It goes beyond the product. It's a feeling.
You're talking about emotional connection.
Exactly. What if KRBL could do that with rice?
Interesting concept, but how do you make rice emotional?
Well, they could tell their story better.
Mm.
Their history, their commitment to quality, the farmers they work with.
Share that passion. Educate people about different types of rice, how to cook them.
Create a whole world around their rice.
Exactly. Events, experiences, cooking classes, farm tours, maybe even a festival of rice.
Turn it into an event, a celebration.
And if they can do that, they could build even stronger loyalty. Become more than just a rice company.
All right, let's bring it back to those new product categories. We've talked about a lot of possibilities, from spices to bioplastics. It's exciting.
Yeah, lots of options. It's about finding the right fit where their strengths meet those emerging trends.
Find that sweet spot.
Right. They got to be strategic, consider the market size, the growth potential, the competition, and what they're good at.
Make sure it all aligns with their vision.
And they shouldn't be afraid to try new things, experiment a bit. That's how you innovate.
Take some risks, even if it means failing sometimes.
And through it all, stick to those values. Sustainability, quality, social responsibility. That's what makes them different.
They're guiding principles. All right, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are your final thoughts? What's the most promising path forward for KRBL, and what should they keep in mind?
I think the best opportunities are where they can leverage what they already do well, but also tap into those new trends. It's a balancing act.
Play to your strengths, but keep your eye on the future.
They need to carefully assess each category, look at the market, the competition, their own capabilities, be smart about their investments.
Make informed decisions.
And don't be afraid to try new things. Innovation takes courage.
Be bold, be brave.
And most importantly, stay true to who they are. Those values, that's their core. That's what will make them successful in the long run.
It's about having a North Star to guide them. All right, in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to zoom out even further. What does KRBL's success tell us about the food and beverage industry as a whole? What lessons can we learn?
Ah, the big picture. I'm ready for it.
All right, so we've spent 2 parts really digging into KRBL, their numbers, their plans, even some speculation about where they might go next.
It's been quite a journey.
But now I want to kind of zoom out, look at the bigger picture.
Ah, the panoramic view.
Exactly. What does KRBL's story, their success, tell us about the food and beverage industry overall?
Well, I think there are some key takeaways here, for sure. For one, it shows how powerful brand building can be, even when you're essentially selling a commodity.
Because let's be honest, rice is rice at the end of the day.
Right. But they've managed to differentiate themselves, create this image of quality, authenticity, maybe even a little bit of luxury.
And that lets them charge a premium. People are paying more for that KRBL experience.
Exactly. They've elevated a simple grain into something special. And that's a lesson any company can apply no matter what they're selling. Brand building is an investment.
It's about the story you tell, the emotions you evoke. It's got to be more than just the product itself.
And KRBL is a great storyteller, that's for sure. Another thing that stands out to me is their approach to globalization.
They haven't shied away from it.
They've embraced it, and they've done it really well. They've shown that you can be a global company, but still stay true to your roots.
They haven't lost that connection to their origins, to their culture.
It's a tough thing to balance, but they've managed to do it.
It really highlights the power of connecting with consumers worldwide, but also the importance of respecting those different cultures, those local nuances. You can't just force a single approach everywhere.
Absolutely. You have to be adaptable, understand the specific needs of each market.
It's like being a global citizen, appreciating the differences, but also finding that common ground. Okay, but let's talk tech for a minute. Every industry is being shaped by technology these days. Food and beverage is no exception.
Right. And it's almost ironic because you've got this ancient tradition of rice farming,
Yeah.
but then you layer on things like AI and blockchain, and suddenly it's incredibly modern.
It's a wild combination. But I'm curious, what role can tech play in KRBL's future?
Oh, tons of potential. I mean, they're already using it for things like supply chain management, efficiency, digital marketing, but it can go much further.
Give me some examples. What could they do?
Well, think about AI and machine learning. They could use those tools to really understand their consumers, predict trends, even personalize their marketing.
Tailor their messages to each individual.
Exactly. Or blockchain. That could be huge for transparency in their supply chain. Consumers want to know where their food comes from, and blockchain can provide that, a verifiable record of every step along the way.
It's like building trust through technology.
And then there's e-commerce, of course. They could partner with online retailers or even create their own platform. Make it super easy to buy KRBL rice online.
A few clicks and it's at your door. Convenience is king these days. But in all this talk about tech and global markets, we can't forget about the human factor.
The people who make it all happen.
The employees, the farmers, everyone involved.
KRBL's success is a testament to their dedication, their passion. And as they grow, attracting and keeping top talent will be more important than ever.
It's about building a strong culture where people feel valued, inspired.
And that's how you create a truly successful company. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left feeling pretty impressed with KRBL. They've come a long way from that rice mill in Punjab.
A true global success story.
It makes you wonder, what's next for them? What new markets will they explore? What products will they create? It's an exciting time to be watching their journey unfold.
And to our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of KRBL Ltd. Their story is a reminder that even in a traditional industry, innovation and ambition can lead to incredible results. Thanks for joining us.